morning everyone. Today I am going to start my lecture for grade 11th and chapter name is Silk Road. So before starting the chapter I need to introduce you about it. That the story is written by Nick Middleton and this chapter is about the narrator's journey from slopes to Ravu to Mount Kailash to complete the Kora. To bid him farewell, Lamo gave him a long sleeve sheepskin coat. He hired Seaton's car for his journey and took Daniel along to escort him to Dutch. So we are starting the story of this chapter. In this paragraph we have some different words. Loaves means bread shaped and baked in one piece, which is usually sliced before being eaten. Kora means meditation performed by Buddhist believers. Ducking back means going inside and then coming out. Size me up to look at someone attentively. Clambered means move or climb in an awkward way, and Drogba means shepherd. As the protagonist was heading towards Mount Kailash to complete the Kora in the evening, he witnessed a beautiful half moon in the blue sky. The clouds looked like French bread which glowed pink because of the sun, which spread a slash of rays on the mountain tops. It looked like a rose-tinted blush. Ravu and Lamu wanted to give him a farewell gift. One evening when the protagonist passed a message to Lamu through Daniel, she gave him a long-sleeved sheepskin coat which is meant for men. Seaton looked at him attentively while he climbed into his car. He declared yes and said Drogba to him, which means Kora in the region of Tibet. They took a shortcut to cut off the Changtang. His driver knew the short route which took them to the southwest towards Mount Kailash. They had to pass through high mountain passes. Seaton told him that they can reach the destination only if there is no snow, and they can't know that until they will reach there. Here we have some different words. Gazelles means an African or Asian mammal with large eyes. Nibbling means take a small bite from. Arid means having little or no rain. Pastures means land covered with grass. Frown, to disapprove of something. Bounding, jump. Wild ass, an animal who have ears shorter than a horse and smaller in size. Herd means a large group of animal. Galloping means progressing in an uncontrollable manner. En masse means is in a group, and maneuvers means military exercises. Plumes means trails, and billowed means filled with air. The route was filled with open plains in Ravu, where gazelles were eating grass from the land which had little rain and disapproved while hopping back in the void. As they moved forward, a large group of wild asses appeared. Seaton told him that they were approaching the wild asses long before they appeared there. Seaton pointed out a huge pile of dust which he called yang in his local language. When they drew nearer to the destination, they could see a large group of animals progressing in a fast and uncontrollable manner like they were doing military exercises. Trails of dust filled with air. Here we have some different words. Wilderness means wasteland. Solitary means private. Flocks means a group of birds. Evasive means slippery. Veering means to change direction suddenly. Shaggy means bushy or hairy. As they moved past the rocky area, they came across private koras nurturing their group of birds. Both men and women stared at their car, and some also waved at them. As they moved closer to the animals, the sheep would take a slippery path and would suddenly move into another direction away from the car. They witnessed nomads' tents which were dark in complete isolation, and a big black Tibetan dog standing as their guard. They fixed their gaze on the approaching car and ran behind it as a bullet fired from a gun. Here we have some different words. Swerve means change direction suddenly. Ferocious means cruel or violent. Mastiffs means a dog who is strong breed with dropping ears, saggy ears. Glinting means sparkle or twinkle. Meanders means to follow a winding course of a river or road. Those bushy creatures were blacker than the normal black color, who wore a bright red collar, and they barked angrily at them with big jaws. Those dogs were fearless and were running towards the car, causing Seaton to apply brakes and change direction suddenly. The dogs ran after them for 100 meters more and then stopped to watch them go away. These Tibetan mastiffs became popular in China's royal courts as hunting dogs. They were brought along the Silk Road as tribute in ancient times from Tibet. As they passed the area with bushy Tibetan dogs, they started witnessing snow-capped mountains. They entered the valley, which was covered with wide river covered with ice, which was white and shiny in the sun. The track was moving along the river bank as they gained height, and the valley was closing in towards them. Here we have some different words. Dog means spread a thick sticky substance. Lichen means a slow growing plant. Clung means hold tightly. Swath means a long strip of land. Petered out means to diminish gradually and stop. Encrusted means decorated with hard surface layer, and slither means to move smoothly over a surface. The driver was driving in third gear while the turns were sharper and the ride got bumpier. Then they moved away from the road which ran along the icy river and had sharp slopes and big rocks coated with thick sticky orange lichen. Below the rocks were chunks of snow. The protagonist felt a pressure on his ears, he felt his nose and snorted in order to clear them. A sharp turn came again and Seaton stopped the car and jumped out from his seat. David too did the same. He exclaimed snow in his excitement. A long track of snow was in front of them, which was about 15 meters long before it diminished and the normal dirty track appeared again. The snow was on both sides of them and it was difficult to move the vehicle in that condition. The protagonist joined Daniel as Seaton tried to move smoothly over the snowy surface by stamping his foot on the surface. The protagonist saw his wristwatch. They were 5210 meters above sea level. Here we have two different words. Fling means throw and lurching means listing. The snow was deep beneath its icy top surface. Daniel said that if they turned their car over, they could slip off. Seaton grabbed dirt and threw it across the frozen surface. They paced it and helped Seaton until the snow with soil appeared and it loaded the tension of Seaton. He drove back the car and slowly drove to the more comfortable side of the road. After 10 minutes, Seaton stopped again as another obstacle came in front of them. They drove around the snowy track which was steep and filled with rocks. He further drove from the hairpin bend, moving on the higher side where the snow was still there. Here we have some different words. Throb means pulsate, accent means climb on an upward slope, cairn on frogs, the pile of stone on the top of the mountain, festoon means decorated. The protagonist checked his watch again while he was climbing the mountain in the bright sunlight. They move up 5400 meters height and his head began to pulsate again. He had a few sips of water from his bottle which helped him to climb the slope. They reached at 5515 meters and a large pile of stone was decorated with white silk scarves and some dirty player frets. They took a turn round that stone in a clockwise direction as in the tradition, and the driver checked the tires of his vehicle. He stopped at the petrol tank and unscrewed its top, which made a loud hiss noise as the pressure was making the fuel expand. The driver told him maybe it's dangerous but told him not to smoke around there. In this paragraph we have some different words. Carried down means sinking the slope. Salt flats means thatched roof covered with snow. Pockmarked means disfigured with a scar. Brackish means slightly salty water. Vestiges means a trace of something. Leaden means loaded. His headache cleared as they descended down the slope, and it was 2 o'clock when they stopped for lunch at a long canvas tent beside the dry salt lake. They had hot noodles. The plateau was disfigured and the lake was filled with salty water and thatched roof covered with snow. It had traces of extinct Tethys Ocean which used to border Tibet before the collision of the continent. Few men were working there with pickaxes and shovels. They were wearing sunglasses to minimize the glare coming from the blue trucks loaded with pile of salt encrusted boots and long sheepskin coats. By the late afternoon, they reached Ho Town and back to East-West Highway, which was an old route from Lhasa to Kashmir. Daniel found a ride as he was on his way back to Lhasa. Both of them bid him farewell as tire repair shop. Their car suffered 2 punctures on the way from the Salt Lake, so Seaton was eager to get them fixed. They had no spare tire left, and the second tire which he changed was replaced by a smooth tire just like the head of the protagonist. Here we have some different words. Grim means ugly, accumulated means gathered, venerated means respected, cosmology means science about the origin development of the universe, flanks means side, forth means put together, build up. Hor was an ugly and miserable place which had no vegetation and just dust and rocks. It is scattered with gathered refuse, and it was luckless that it was on the shore of Lake Mansarovar, which is Tibet's most respected water. According to ancient Hindu and Buddhist cosmologists, it consists of 4 Indian rivers: the Indus, the Ganges, the Satluj and the Brahmaputra. Satluj river flows from this lake, and other 3 rivers rise near the sides of mountain Kailash. They were in a remarkable distance, and he was eager to build ahead. He waited for Seaton while having some tea at O's Cafe, which was constructed badly from painted concrete and 3 broken windows, although it had a good view of the lake. Here we have some different words. Daub means spread a thick sticky substance. Lichen means a slow growing plant. Clung means hold tightly. Swath means a long strip of land. Petered out means to diminish gradually and stop. Encrusted means decorated with hard surface layer, and slither means to move smoothly over a surface. The driver was driving in 3rd gear while the turns were sharper and the ride got bumpier. Then they moved away from the road which ran along the icy river and had sharp slopes and big rocks coated with thick sticky orange lichen. Below the rocks were chunks of snow. The protagonist felt a pressure on his ears, he felt his nose and snorted in order to clear them. A sharp turn came again, and Seaton stopped the car and jumped out from his seat. Here we have a different word. Nocturnal means night time. When they resumed their journey from Hor, it was dark at that time. After 10:30, they decided to stay in a guest house in Dachan, which turned out to be a difficult night for him. The rubbish dump in Hor made his cold worse, and herbal tea also didn't help him. One of his nostrils was blocked. As he lay on the bed, he was not getting sufficient oxygen, and he checked his watch. It was 4760 meters above the sea level. The height was not more than Ravu, but he would be out of breath several times a night. He was so familiar to these nighttime disturbances, and he was scared, but he was scared this time. He started breathing from his mouth. He was tired and hungry. He switched back to breathing from single nostril, and as soon as he was about to sleep, he would wake up shortly. He was not feeling well, as his chest felt heavy. He sat up and it cleared his nasal passages, and he was curious. Here, gasping means breathlessness, propping means to hold up. He tried again by laying back on the bed. The same thing happened. He was in the land of signals where something told him not to do it. He was not able to go to sleep this time. When he was sitting up, it made him feel better, as he could breathe properly and his chest felt light. The opposite happened. As soon as he laid down, he held himself against the wall, but he was not able to relax. He was afraid to sleep now. A voice inside him told him that he might die if he would try to sleep, so he stayed awake all night. Here we have some different words. Gazelles means an African or Asian mammal with large eyes. Nibbling means take a small bite from. Arid means having little or no rain. Pastures means land covered with grass. Frown, to disapprove of something. Bounding, jump. Wild as, an animal who have ears shorter than a horse and smaller in size. Herd means a large group of animal. Galloping means progressing in an uncontrollable manner. En masse means is in a group, and manures means military exercises. Plumes means trails, and velour means filled with air. The route was filled with open plains in Ravu, where gazelles were. Here we have some different words. Pallets means short, derelict means ruin, heaps means loads, and wisp means a small amount of something. The Tibetan doctor gave him a 5-day course. He came out with a brown envelope which had 15 screws of paper. After having breakfast, he opened the after breakfast package which had a brown powder which he had to take with hot water. It tasted like cinnamon, and the lunchtime and bedtime packages were nearly the same. They looked like sheep dung, both had small spherical brown packages. After taking the full day medicine, he slept peacefully that night. Seaton left him in Darchen when he came to know that he is going to be fine. He told him as a Buddhist that if he had passed away, it would not matter, but it would be bad for business. Next day, Darchen was not looking so bad. It was dusty, partially ruined, and had loads of rubble and refuse everywhere. The brightly shining sun in the blue sky gave him the vision of Himalayas. Gurla Mandata he was able to see a little bit with clouds suspended over it. Here we have some different words. Rudimentary means basic or primary. Incongruous means strange. Brook means a small stream, and pondering means thinking. Darchen had some basic general stores selling Chinese soap, cigarettes and strings of paper, prayer flags. Every afternoon men would gather for a game of pool. They would sit around a shabby table looking strange in the open air, while women washed their hair and ice water of a small stream which flowed all the way to his guest house. Darchen had no pilgrims, which were a setback for him. He was told that in the peak season of pilgrimage, in this town was filled with visitors. Some brought their own accommodation, such as tents which were set up in the plains. He felt that he had arrived at that place way too early. One day, while he was thinking about his options while having a glass of tea at Darchen only cafe, he concluded that there are limited options for him as he made little progress on the self-help program on positive thinking. In this paragraph, we have different words. Well-trodden means much frequented by travelers. Cavernous means vast. Wreath means twisted, and stout means firm. He was having difficulty in sleeping, which had not made it easy for him. He had no option other than to wait until the peak season of pilgrimage. The trail was much frequented by the travelers. He could do Kora alone, but it was a seasonal session because of the route blockage by snow. He had no idea if the snow was cleared, and he was not feeling good about dirty ice that still resided on the bank of Darchen's small streams. He had been facing communication problems since Seaton left. No one knew much English to answer his basic questions. He met Norbu in a cafe which was small, dark and vast and long metal store. The walls and ceilings were twisted in multicolored plastic sheets of different colored stripes. It was made into a firm and big shopping bags which were sold over China and in many countries of Asia and Europe. Plastic was China's successful export along the Silk Route. Here we have a different word. Rickety means unstable. That cafe had only one window which he would take so that he could see his notebook clearly, and he would also bring a novel with him to pass time. Norbu once saw his book and asked if he could sit opposite him as his unstable table. He asked him if he is English after he ordered tea. He told him that he was English. The protagonist guessed that he must not be a local as he was wearing a wingshitter and metal-rimmed spectacles which were of Western style. Norbu was a Tibetan who worked in Beijing at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences in the Institute of Ethnic Literature. Norbu told him that he had come here to do Kora. Protagonist was happy. Norbu was writing academic papers on Kailash Kora and its importance in various Buddhist literature works. He had never done the Kora himself. Here we have some different words. Tiresome means dull and boring. Transpired means leaked. Envisaged means predicted. Devote means deep, and prostrating means lying down. Norbu was excited when he got to know why the protagonist was at Darchen. He said they could be a team who are two academics who escaped from the library. The protagonist believed his positive thinking strategy was working. Norbu was also staying at a guest house just like him, and Norbu was an ill-equipped like him. Norbu kept telling him that he was too dull, boring and tired to walk, and he was fat. He was not a practicing Buddhist, but he was an enthusiast. Originally, the protagonist predicted that the track would be good in a company of any deep believer, but he found Norbu to be an ideal partner. So Norbu finally said that it is not possible for him, while he collapsed across the table laughing irascibly. His tummy was also too big. So here I am ending my PPT. We'll meet you in the next. Thank you. Have a nice day.